Dear friends, thank you for inviting me to this important discussion organized by the BEUC. I'm terribly sorry I cannot be with you as anticipated because of a last-minute commitment in Rome. It would have been important for our work on the AI Act to have a full debate with you today, but I really hope there will be other occasions very soon. I'm really looking forward for that. I'm therefore sending you this brief message to confirm my commitment to protect consumers and to ensure that fundamental rights are at the core of the AI Act. Currently, we are still in the process of internally discussing the competences of each parliamentary committee, which will still need a few more weeks to be sorted out. And only then we will be able to start the actual drafting work on the EP report. Of course, we are not wasting this time at all. We are using it for our reflection and to build and refine our positions on the regulation. Apart from details and nuances, however, we see how the issue of trust that the Commission mentioned several times in its documents on AI, it's an essential element for a successful uptake of AI in Europe and one of the main goals of the AI Act. It needs much more work than it currently is in the case of this draft regulation to build this trust. To make an example, while we appreciate the more nuanced approach to the risk levels, we still see a problem with the prohibited use cases and especially the exceptions. I'm talking, of course, in particular about real-time biometric recognition in publicly accessible spaces, a practice that should be banned altogether, as I have already said in numerous occasions, and not only by public authorities, but also by private entities. When it comes to the high-risk use cases, some of them are still too invasive of people's lives, and in some cases they concern techniques that have no scientific basis, such as emotional recognition. The ones on AI in the workplace, especially about termination decisions, as well as workers monitoring, need to be more carefully assessed, as they can also clash with national labor legislation. And above all, what concerns us today is the proposed conformity assessment requirements for almost all the high-risk cases. Internal assessment means that we would only discover non-compliant AI systems after market surveillance checks, when so many lives might have been already damaged by wrong or biased decisions, and this with still too little redress possibilities in the regulation, not to mention incomplete standards and the lack of obligations on fundamental rights impact assessments obligations on users that maybe should be more correctly named, in many cases, deployers. This issue of conformity assessment is a typical problem with product safety legislation. So I wonder why, in regulating a technology with such disruptive potential, if not properly addressed, this has not been taken into more consideration. I asked this directly to Commissioner Vestager during our first exchange of views on the proposal a few months ago, and she replied that this was intended to build volume in Europe, to encourage businesses, not to impose too many burdens. I understand this point of view, but I think we cannot think just like that. We have to put people's rights and consumer protection first if we really want this European model for AI to be human-centric and for consumers to really trust and use AI systems. I think this must be done with much more conviction. These are just a few of the many points we need to tackle. I know that we will have to fight hard for our vision because political polarization on the issue is strong, but we are prepared to do it, and I know you will be our staunch allies in this process. So let's continue our common work in the upcoming months. I thank you once again for this debate, and I look forward, obviously, to look and study and discuss the outcome of this discussion of today. Thank you very much.